Okay, girlies, a new Sonic game came out, and normally I would be spewing joy and whimsy out of every facet of my body and telling you all about how this is a great era to be a Sonic fan, and how society is healing, but in fact, it's the opposite. I think that Sonic Rumble is predatory, and is a catalyst of years of greed slowly incorporated into this franchise, and that if we don't say something about this now, not only will this get worse, but the Sonic brand will slowly turn into a capitalist shell of its former self, only designed to squeeze money out of children and fans who have too much of an attachment to this series to let it go. And I know that I sound like I'm overreacting or fear-mongering, but this game genuinely makes me angry, and I cannot in good conscience recommend this to people, despite the fact that I really wish I could. Because the premise of this game seems fun, a thrilling, competitive Sonic game where you race other players in these Sonic levels on foot and go through obstacles, loop-de-loops, defeat badniks, and collect rings. You could just go from A to B, or even have other game modes, like collecting the most rings, destroying the most badniks, surviving the longest. This is just Fall Guys. Sonic is already in that game, and it's on mobile. What? So, what's going on with this game? Well, everything from its reveal to its release was nothing but red flags, weird choices, horrible management, and the perfect example of what not to do for a video game. Let me explain why. Sonic Rumble was revealed a year ago during a Sonic Central, I think. I honestly don't remember, but off the bat, it made itself known in a very weird way. Also, it was leaked like 2 months prior to that. But this is the footage that was in the reveal trailer. Just look. No, it's not altered, and no, it's not artifacts for me downloading it off of YouTube or something. That is just how the game runs in the footage that they captured. Let me remind you that this is the reveal trailer. Reveal trailers are supposed to be handled delicately. They are the consumer's first impression of a game. This is supposed to convince the person you're trying to sell it to keep up with this game until its release, and this is the best that you have to show them? Normally, companies will record hours of footage in order to cherry pick the most appealing moments for what's normally supposed to be just a minute-long trailer, and yet this is the best they could get. I feel like this says a lot about the development of this game, and I say game like that because I put quotes in the script. This isn't a game, at least that's not how it was conceptualized. When I play this, it's so obvious to me that despite all of the game modes, the long-ass development time, and the mechanics, that this was not someone's idea for a fun new Sonic experience. This was someone's idea to further monetize and profit off of the Sonic brand. Not to mention that this game has been available to play in other parts of the world for almost a year at this point. Originally, its worldwide release was slated for winter 2024, but then it got pushed back to a spring 2025 release. Then it was delayed a third time indefinitely before months later finally being announced to be released on November 2025. No, we're so for real this time, guys. That poor social media intern had to spend hours going through comments convincing people that the game was actually coming out. That was kind of tragic. And now here we are. I finally got to play this game for the first time, despite basically everyone else just downloading APKs to play this game for the past year. And despite the fact that the game had not seen a global release yet, and not everyone was supposed to play the game, they still had limited time unlockable skins and stuff. And I don't mean just like a few. I mean they were on pre-season 7 before the game even fucking launched! What? This is what I mean when I say this game's main reason for existing is solely for monetization. Especially because when I finally booted up the game and finished the tutorial, the game immediately hit me with this. Before I even played an actual game, they already want me to cough up money. I don't even know if I like the game or not. Oh, and by the way, you don't even get to start the game as Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, in the game called Sonic Rumble, you have to unlock Sonic the Hedgehog. And yeah, he only costs rings, which is something you get plenty of as you play the game, and you get them pretty early on. But this already sets a bad precedent if you have to unlock Sonic in the game with his name in the title, because the game doesn't give you any member of the Sonic cast when you start out. You're stuck with a random avatar that doesn't even have a name. But oh yeah, I love to play as my favorite Sonic character, Wolf Avatar 2. I fail to see why anyone would want to play as these guys prioritize over the actual Sonic characters with actual names. Like, yeah, they're cute, but how do you unlock the Sonic characters? How do you get to play as characters like Amy, Knuckles, and Silver? I don't know, because I haven't seen them yet. I managed to get Amy with rings a few games after I unlocked Sonic, but now all these rings are good for is something called character fragments, which are basically tokens I have to collect enough of to unlock a character. This specific character fragment being a skin for Rouge, who isn't even the actual Rouge, at least not the base Rouge design. And the game is littered with these character fragments, and they're all ridiculous numbers, like 300. One of the ways to get other fragments for other characters is this gacha machine, which you get like 1 free spin of per day. How generous! Let's see what I get. Ah, yes. 1 character fragment for a character where I need 300. Mind you that this is the only way I know how to get this skin, meaning that if I don't want to cough up the money, hell, if I don't have the money, I'll have to rely on these free spins in order to get the chance to have enough character fragments to get this skin. And since I only get 1 free spin a day, that means I'll have to roll a character fragment every day for 300 days straight just to get this 1 skin. That's even if I'm somehow, by a miracle of the universe, lucky enough to get the exact same fragment every single day 300 times in a row, which I won't, which means just getting the skin will take over a year, if not even more, just to get all the fragments to unlock it. And who even knows if it'll be available by then? Who even knows if that game will be up by then? Because Sega's track record of keeping these games up are awful, especially if they're not just Sonic Dash clones. So what if I just want to purchase a character? Well, you go to the Red Star Ring shop and then immediately realize that these are the most insane microtransactions you will ever see in a free-to-play mobile game of this caliber. Off the bat, the first thing I notice is that they tried to hide real-life currency by converting it into its own in-game currency, which I know every game does ever, but that doesn't mean it's okay and doesn't piss me off. They do this because it helps hide just how much these actually cost behind this smoke and mirrors tactic, and then they can overcharge you for currency bundles instead of just letting you pay for the actual value of the thing they made. And it just pisses me off because you almost never need the extra money for anything. And everything is so expensive that there isn't even anything else you could get with the extra money. You're forced to pay them regardless. And despite the fact that this currency system is designed to confuse you with the actual prices of these cosmetics, the game is simultaneously so shameless about how much it wants you to dish out. Let's look at this Sonic skin. It's the first one you see when you open up the shop tab, and it costs over 700 red star rings. Okie dokie, I see that I don't have enough red star rings, but you know what? I like this skin. This game is free, they gotta make their money, I get it. I'm gonna support the developer and get some cool stuff out of it. So let me see how much money they want me for these red star rings. What is there to say? What could I possibly say that could properly describe just how disgusting this all is? Yes, I know, just about every video game is made to make money, especially in today's industry with microtransactions and battle passes, but see, there's a difference here. It feels so much worse when it's this compared to this. This is preying on children. This is getting little children who barely know any better to try to convince their parents to let them pay for skins in a Sonic game. And yes, I know that it's a free-to-play mobile game, and I will say that it's really nice that there aren't any ads in the mobile version, but I would rather there be ads than what we have going on in this fucking shop, because just look! And that's not even the only one! There are like 8 skins that cost this much! These are not microtransactions, these are f***ing mortgage payments. And they're trying to act like they're cutting you a good deal by having that 999 number slashed up off the top, like that makes it seem more reasonable somehow. And that's not even it, because despite the fact that buying these skins will set you back $360 US, they decided to implement battle passes, each with a free tier that gets you basically nothing of value, and then a $10 tier with barely any skins, and some even having up to a $20 tier. And I don't even know what that gets you. Oh my god, how greedy do you have to be to implement all of this in one game? And I say battle passes because there's more than one. There's not even just 2. There are 3 separate passes, all with 3 separate tiers. The game has been out for a day! Is there anyone that is really willing to buy all of this stuff? Do they expect people to casually fork over money on a whim on 3 or 4 separate battle passes for one game? Let me remind you again that this is a Sonic the Hedgehog free-to-play mobile game, and this is the art style. This is a game targeted for children. This is a game that is made for little kids, and this is what they are doing. Little kids don't know any better. They don't know how to deal with these constant pop-ups that they're being harassed with. And the fact that we're trying to normalize children learning how to navigate predatory user interfaces like this is disgusting. But they're gonna have to if they want to make sure they don't accidentally make any charges on their parents' cards playing this. The aging on this page is 4+. 4 years old is how little they want kids to play this. What the fuck? And it gets worse, because it's one thing to charge this much for these characters, but it's another thing entirely to lock behind other base members of the Sonic cast behind these monetary practices too. Remember, I have no idea how to unlock characters like Base Silver or Base Shadow. The only way I know how to play as these characters is to buy one of their expensive skins off of the shop, but that's not even their original designs. SEGA, how am I supposed to know what characters are in this game if I don't see them? How am I expected to keep returning if I don't even know what I'm trying to unlock? SEGA, let me remind you that this game you've made is marketed towards little kids. A free-to-play platforming mobile game starring Sonic is the most available way to introduce little kids to the Sonic IP. Opportunities like this are what will make those little kids Sonic fans. You can turn them into customers for life, and this is what you're banking that opportunity on? How will these kids get to know Shadow, Silver, Blaze, Knuckles if there isn't any way to unlock them or even just afford them? Later on, these kids are gonna grow up and see a new Shadow game on the shelf and think, oh yeah, I remember this guy. I wanted to play as him in that one mobile game I had when I was a kid so badly, but my mom wouldn't buy him for me. She said he was too expensive. How much was he anyway, Mom? $40? I don't think I want to support this company if they were trying to do that to me as a kid. And this to me sets a horrible precedent for what SEGA is gonna try to pull next. We Sonic fans have been begging for years for a Chow Garden mobile game, and now I don't want one. Not if it's gonna be as predatory as this. SEGA, I know you want to make money, but this is not how you do it. Making your fans happy is how you do it. We're happy to fork over cash for cool stuff, but not for this. Not $40 for Shadow wearing a hoodie in a mobile game. You make a good game first, and then you try to incorporate ways fans can support the game second. But here, you made a shop first and a game second. You thought of all the cosmetics that you could charge outrageous prices for, then slapped a game around it to warrant putting it on the App Store. Why else would your launch trailer show gameplay that's barely optimized? Why else would you delay the game 3 whole times, despite having it available in other countries for basically an entire year? Why else would you allow those other places with early access to spend money on your game? I bet when the game was lagging like this, the shop tab was fully implemented and completely functional. I bet when this game was pitched, you had a mock-up of the shop tab completely done, and the gameplay mock-ups were just little concept drawings you threw together on a napkin during your lunch break. And this bothers me so much because you know SEGA gave creator codes and early promotions to the biggest Sonic heads on YouTube to have them pretend they like this game and think twice about calling them out for these outrageous prices out of fear of losing their partnership with SEGA. Now these poor people are having to advertise themselves with this game and asking you to buy these $46 skins with their name attached to your purchase. SEGA is shamelessly roping these guys in with their shitty practices, and they're not to blame for this. And fun fact, I applied for the Sonic Rumble Creators program and I never got my own code, but even if I did, I would gladly sacrifice that to tell you to not support this game. Not while these prices are like this. Not while this game does little to incentivize you to unlock the free rewards, but will constantly shove all of these monetization practices in your face after every match. And not while these skins cost as much as 2 Hollow Knight Silk Songs, the deluxe version of Dispatch, the price of Sonic X Shadow Generations that is currently on sale. Hell, $40 is a decent amount of groceries that you can get for yourself. And if they're willing to do all of this now with this mobile game, then who knows how greedy they're gonna get. The digital deluxe version of Sonic Racing Crossworlds was already $90. The Switch 2 version of Sonic X Shadow Generations doesn't come with a way to upgrade from the Switch 1 version, meaning that you have to buy the whole game again. Sonic Superstars was $60 at launch right before the holidays, so SEGA could squeeze out all the money they could get out of their diehard supporters before lowering the price for the parents looking for a new Sonic game to buy their kid for Christmas. Sega has gotten so greedy with this franchise ever since these Sonic movies put them on the map again. And they're gonna keep doing this because it keeps working. Who knows what Sega will pull next? You know, once they tried charging you to play a Super Sonic? Yeah, well, they put a stop to that shit once they realized we're not f***ing stupid and we're not gonna buy that shit. But now they're at a spot where they're getting comfortable screwing us over again. And what if this game flops? You already know Sega will get the wrong message. Next time Sonic Team pitches a fun multiplayer Sonic game, Sega will point at Sonic Rumble and say, we already made a multiplayer Sonic platformer and the fans don't think it's fun. When that's not the issue! Am I being too cynical? Maybe. But this is modern gaming. I'm concerned and cynical because companies much more profitable than Sega do this shit on the daily, and they just get away with it. Sega is looking around themselves and taking inspiration from the worst places because they are starting to be on the same level as these other AAA companies now. That's not to say it's all been bad. Sega is still good with mods. In fact, they encourage them, and their games still go on sale often, and they're very generous, and they still gladly support content creators and fan games, but I don't want this to be the beginning of a slippery slope. I don't want them to continue down this path because this is not how you should treat a children's IP. You cannot get this greedy with an IP and pricing customers out of enjoying this series. You cannot betray your longtime fans who have stuck with you since this and this by making them all pay this insane amounts of money. You cannot expect people to want to support this crap, then sit with your thumb up your ass and blame the game for you not making your money back. Please, Sega, just don't do this. And to the viewers watching, please stop supporting these scummy practices if you agree with any of what I just said. I know I seem like I'm just making a big fuss out of a nothing burger. It's a free-to-play mobile game. It's just for skins. You can enjoy the game without buying any of this stuff. But if we don't rightfully call out Sega for doing horrible practices like this now, it'll be a harder habit for them to break in the future. If we don't discourage greed like this now, then it will only get worse, not better. I love Sonic and I love Sega, and I'm saying all this because I don't want them to stoop to levels that cause the downfall of a bunch of their beloved series. And Sega, I hope you understand that this is just not how you make money. If you do right by the consumer, they'll do right by you. Always. Just look at Steam, look at Silksong, look at all of these games that are thriving, and they don't even need free-to-play mobile games to incentivize their user base to blow $40 on a skin. I think Sonic Rumble is a fun idea, and I hope kids have fun with this game. I really do. But I'm just disappointed, honestly. And look, I talked about all the monetization and whatnot, but how's the actual gameplay? It's okay. Kind of boring, but it's fine.